Hey students, so I just wanted to create a video for you to see what a good resume looks like and see what a not so good resume looks like as you are designing yours and updating yours for our upcoming assignment. So we'll start with this one. I'll tell you right off that this is a friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, I've been unemployed for about 6 months. I can't land a position. Can you take a look at my resume for me?" So I said, "Sure, send it along." And this is what he sent me. And immediately I was turned away. There's so much going on here. And so what I'll just do is I'll walk us through what is not working about this resume. And then we'll look at the resume that I recreated for him. Okay, first and foremost, I can already tell that he did not use a template. We all need to use a template, right? So he just did a bunch of tab work and highlighting, but we need to use a template. So the best way to do that, go to File, go to New. Then you can just, I'm in Microsoft Word. And by the way, just insert, if you don't have Microsoft Word, you can get it for free through school. Just let me know and I'll walk you through that. Anyways, we just type in resume. And you get to choose from so many resumes. There's a lot going on in some of these resumes, right? Like, we have to know our industry. We would never send a purple resume to a potential career in law, right? You wouldn't send these kinds of colorful resumes to be a social worker or to be an aviation manager. Like, we just have to know that our field. And the best thing to do, right, is look at basic modern, that's a cover letter, but basic modern resume. Look how clean that looks. We want a nice, clean look. I'm even okay with this one. Nice, clean look. Minimalist. It's a good word to think about when creating a resume. Because resumes serve as just a quick glance, right? The cover letter is really what is going to land you the position. Look, it even says attorney resume. I know several of you are going into law. Chronological resume. That one's perfect. So you know the word chronological, start to finish. Our PowerPoints say reverse chronological because we start with the position that we currently hold and move backwards. Functional resume, chronological again. So at any rate, you choose what you think is best that helps you stand out. We're not at the point where we're adding any images of ourselves. Definitely, no floral work. Let's not go there. We're not spraying anything with cologne here. So let me just go back to Jason's resume. This is the first thing that I want to address. This font is difficult to read. It is best that our font is in a traditional font like Times New Roman. Right? I mean, immediately it looks better to me. It doesn't have to be bolded. The next thing to keep in mind, you do not have to put your entire address. You can, in fact, I encourage you not to put your entire address on your resume. You can put all that stuff when you apply for the position and you are filling out that application. Go ahead and and fill out your exact address. But for your resume, save that space and just put the city that you're located. Definitely go ahead and include your phone number on your resume, and then an email address. Now, let me talk to you quickly about email addresses. You need a professional email address if you don't already have one. Several of my students email me from email addresses that they created in high school, and I can tell you that that is not acceptable for the workplace. When I get an email from Big Money 99 and I don't get any signature at the bottom, it's really hard for me to respond because I don't know who it is, right? And it really is not setting a professional tone. I'll get Lady Peach 12 at ymail.com. Again, not the best, most professional email. We need something first name dot last name or first name last name at Gmail. Gmail is really becoming more and more and more popular, obviously, because of Google and Google Drive. So if you don't have a Gmail account, go ahead and set one up for business purposes. And do know that when you graduate, you will lose access to your tnstate.edu. And they don't waste any time. It's like 2 weeks after you graduate, you're not going to be able to access your tnstate.edu. So, okay, enough about that. It's just really important. So I didn't mean to sort of ramble on about that. All right. I really want to encourage us to omit the objective on our resumes. We absolutely do not need to have an objective because you will have a cover letter from now until the end of time. For every single position that you apply for within your career field, you must include a cover letter. Therefore, an objective is just wasted space. And in fact, take a look at this objective. He put, my objective is to obtain full-time employment in a permanent position. In other words, he's like, I really need to work and I don't need to get fired. However, we don't need to have that. And that's what his situation was, is he got laid off. So you can sort of even feel the tone in this objective. So I would just completely delete it. Okay, the next thing is for all of us in higher education or who have had any higher education, you should list your education first. That should be the first thing that your future employers will see. High school is completely irrelevant, so you do not include high school, but you will start education, Tennessee State University. No need to put your start date, but put your expected graduation date. So Jason immediately started in with work history, but then when I get to the second page, he has education. Right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to move that up to the top so that employers see that he has been educated, that he has an education. But upon further analysis of this resume, I noticed a few things. One, high school is listed. High school is irrelevant if you've had any college experience. The next thing I took a look at is his listing of in progress. Said, oh, okay, so he hasn't finished college yet at Lakeland College, which is a community college, and it's a certification and an associate's. And then I noticed he's been working on this for 8 years. So I sent him a quick little message and I said, hey, are these dates right? Because it looks like you've been working on an associate's degree for 8 years. And I can tell you right now, he got some attitude with me and said, well, first of all, I have been working on my associate's for 8 years. And I said, okay, well, employers are not going to find that very appealing. They're going to think you can't finish things. And an associate's is supposed to be completed in 2 years, but you're saying in 8 years, you're still in progress. So we need to figure out how we can list your education in a different way, because you have invested in your education quite some time. So let's figure this out. So again, with all of us, education is listed first, and then comes your work history or your experience. So for Jason, he has 2011 to 2016, so that's a pretty good stretch. But then we have 2011 to 2011, 2010 to 2011, 2009 to 2010, right? It looks like he's not holding his positions, but really he's just holding multiple positions. But the way that it's listed, it doesn't look like he's working 2 jobs, right? Furthermore, look at and this is the stuff that I will look for in your resumes, that I want you to go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that these tiny details are all in place. Do you notice that there's an added space from here to the bullet point, here to the bullet point, and then down here, it's even? Do we see that? And then let's go down here. Even, even, not even. Even, not even. So I am noticing discrepancies in just the format. Also take a look at punctuation. We really don't need to add periods to the end of these because it just adds clutter, because they are not complete sentences. Right? Troubleshoot with businesses and residential customers, facilitated repair tickets, completed cable locates, which if he's applying to a position outside of his career field, because he's just trying to land any position at this point, cable locates, discourse community, right? Do we need to rephrase that in such a way that anybody reading this will understand what that means? So we're looking at those fine details. Then take a look at this. It's overwhelming with the word managed. Managed, 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 managed. Are you familiar with the Control F feature on your keyboard? Control F brings up the find. So let's just see how many times he wrote the word managed in his document. 11 times. 19 times is some variation of that word. We need to think of some acronyms, right? What are some other words for managed? So are you ready? I'm going to show you how to find that. Put your mouse over the word managed. Hit Shift F7 on your keyboard. Oh no, that was airplane mode. Sorry about that. So I'll do it differently because I just got a new keyboard. So it changed for me. So just bear with me. Go to synonyms, but Shift F7 will work on most keyboards. But then if I right click on the word, go to synonyms, achieved, accomplished, succeeded. But then we pull this thesaurus up and it gives us all kinds of different verbs. We need different verbs. I may have said adjectives earlier, but I meant verbs. The verbs are very important on our resumes, and the verbs should match some of the verbs that are listed on your potential job calls. So you find that job, hey, I could potentially apply to this position. It was the ones that I asked you to submit to eLearn. Go through that document and highlight the verbs and try to put some of those verbs into your resume, because the first person to read your resume is actually a computer. So many times you will not get looked at simply because a real life person is not reviewing your document and seeing your potential. But instead, a resume reader is scanning it for keywords. My husband has applied to positions where he's received a rejection email within 20 minutes. And it's because a computer looked at that resume and said, you know what, he's not a good fit. So that's what we want to do, is we want to try to mirror that job call using some of the verbs from that job call. All right, so another thing to tell you is it's really not applicable or necessary to add the location of every single place we worked. We're like, okay, Jason, we get that you've worked in Mattoon, Illinois, and you haven't been anywhere else, right? But it really doesn't matter to an employer. So for me, all it does is clutter. Okay, so now let's go down and talk about the second page. We've got education. He's listed his experience words, which if you are already in your career field, I know I have a few people who are already in their career field, and you're wanting to make lateral moves within your company, you're wanting to move up in the company, or just go to a different business within the same career field. Sure, list some words that will have the computer generator pick up, right? Management, sales, marketing, advertising, social media. I'm not saying that we need to do that, but that if you have experience, that is something that is common on experiential resumes. We already talked about the fact that your education needs to be listed first and foremost. References. You must include references on your resume. You can no longer put available upon request, because you know what that actually means is, let me go find some real quick if you need some. I don't have any on deck for you. So definitely include references, but no more than 3. And list them in the order that you want those employers to call. So the first person should be the person who can speak on your work ethics, your knowledge in the field. But let me talk to you about something. We no longer can include like our mentors, our pastors, a family member who we worked for. I'll say it again, we can no longer include our mentors, our pastors, our aunts, our uncles who we worked for over the summer. We have to have professional references, which means you need to have a professor or 2 professors, and you need to have somebody who has seen you work. If you've never held a position, you've never had a job ever, maybe you're an athlete, maybe you're an international student, right? Find professors, people who can speak on your work ethic, how hard you work, and the work that you produce. But Jason included 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 5 on here, and I must have just deleted it, but there's 4 references on here, and just look at this. This person is retired. Like, this person is not trying to have somebody call them for a reference because they are retired, right? I think this is good. listed the manager to a workplace, a manager to the workplace. And for Jason, I think 2, known this person for 10 years, known this person for 6 years. Again, probably irrelevant for a resume. Those are things that you add to the application. But we do need to know the person's name, the person's title, who they work for, and the contact should be a phone number and email address. Email addresses are non-negotiable. They need to be included in your references because you know as well as I know that phone calls are fewer and far between and that people are operating from emails mostly these days. I receive so many emails that are from local businesses asking, can you give a character reference for this person? Fill out this worksheet. So email address, phone number, name, and title, and location of workplace. All right, so I breezed through that kind of quickly, but let's just take a look. So this is old Jason, and then new and improved Jason. I'll give you a moment to just breathe this in. Wow. It looks so much better, right? Let's just start with his education. No. Before we get to that, let's start with the template. That template is on point. It looks so nice. His name is not bolded and in your face. It's readable. Look at old Jason, new Jason. We went ahead and included his address simply because he does want to stay in Mattoon, and it could be in Mattoon, Illinois, and it could be a conversation piece. But either way, we have his address, phone number, email. Next, take a look at this phrasing because I want to encourage you to create something like this on your resumes. Educational training. So for Jason, he went to college for 8 years and had never received a degree. So what does that translate to? Educational training. So what we did was we listed all of the courses that he has had in network administration, which is the field he wants to go into. Look at this: network security, client operating system, web page design, data communications, A+ computer essentials. I mean, now he looks like he knows what he's talking about. And then take a look. He is certified in Security Plus, which is a computer program. This was not listed on his resume. So if you want to create something similar to this, right, put in a graph, which is insert up at the top, insert table, 1, 2, right? I don't want to do this because I don't want to mess up our template here, but you can certainly insert your graph and then start listing the courses that you've had in your major. Think of a course or two right now that makes you sound smart on a resume. I know you just counted like at least 2, maybe even 3. That say, yeah, I need to put research methods, social work, behavior. See, I don't know what courses you all have to take, but I do know that they're really difficult courses and they're very rigorous and they deserve some recognition. So why not list them on your resume just like this? Okay. The difference for you, right, is that you will include a graduation date. So we want to put something like expected graduation date. And then, spring 2021 or 2022, just whenever whenever you're supposed to graduate. We also want to put the degree that you are seeking. Somewhere, somehow, you're listing Tennessee State University, Bachelor's of Science in Social Work, Bachelor's of Science in Aviation Management and Criminal Justice, and then the year that you intend to graduate. Make sense? All right. I know adult attention span is about 12 minutes, so I'm really trying to make the video quick. But let's move down to experience. Notice that we no longer have the word managed on here so many times. We have troubleshoot, diagnose, design and organize, coordinate. Those verbs, right? Those verbs are found in this career field. So we put a lot of those verbs into his resume. Supervise employees. It used to say managed. Direct all online sales. It used to say managed. Control, organize, market, monitor, control, organize, communicate, collaborate, execute. Those are some really good verbs. I did post on eLearn a document that says verbs for resumes. So take a look at that. The more verbs that you can include, the more it looks like you have experience. Okay, now, the common misconception that resumes have to be one page, go ahead and lose that misconception now, because we are allowed to have 2, 3, 4-page resumes. And in fact, my resume is, I think, 6 pages. Once you get into your career field, you are building that resume, right? And you need to take a look at resumes of people who are in your career field so that you can see, potentially how long their resumes are. We can't leave any previous work experience off, because it may seem like we're fabricating our resume. So we have to include everything, which means that we may actually go into the second page. So take a look at the references. This is exactly how the references should look. The person's name, the person's title, where that individual works, then their email address and their phone number. This is exactly how the references should look, and you can list 2 to 3 references. 2 is the minimum. I need to interject here and acknowledge the fact that there are some students who have military experience. Your military experience comes after your education and before your work experience. Indeed, I do know that it's a job, but civilian work is often labeled differently in the military. Also, if you have community service or campus organizations, those need to be headings as well. And let me just tell you, each and every one of you have community service. If you started your freshman year at Tennessee State, the service to leadership class that you had as a freshman, that university orientation, UNIV 1000, you had to do community service. So why not list it, right? So community service or campus organizations, as many campus organizations as you can list. Okay, I feel like that is enough to cover on this one video. I plan to make 2 more. But at any rate, new Jason who got the job, old unemployed Jason. All right, say bye, Jason.